Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Lauren James, Executive Director of the Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Please come join us. We've got plenty of seats on each side of the stage. It's so great to be with each of you tonight, and we've got one heck of an exciting program in store for each of you. This year, our foundation celebrates its 10th anniversary. That's 10 years of pursuing a mission of enable leaders and drive change, just as Mitch Daniels did as our state's 49th governor. As executive director, I'm committed to making a people and place impact, and I'm compelled by our organization's purposeful mission to develop a statewide network of change agents actively working to make this state the best place to build a future. Tonight, my hope for you is threefold. And for those of you still staying in the back, we've got plenty of room coming up front. We've got tables to the side. 3 goals for each of you tonight. First, we have some remarkable fellows in attendance, 125 fellows who have participated in our flagship program, and nearly half of them are here tonight, so please seek them out. Each of them are wearing a yellow participant ribbon on their name badge. Secondly, that you consider for yourself your own leadership philosophies and priorities as you meet tonight's featured guest and hear from our award winners. And then thirdly, my hope is that you leave feeling inspired to play a more active role in making this place we call home truly a place that we love to live. Tonight, we are going to showcase our fellowship program and recognize 2 of those outstanding fellows. We will also hear from Mitch himself in a fireside chat with Coach Painter. And lastly, in a multi-year tradition of our foundation, we will honor an outstanding Hoosier luminary whose actions and accomplishments have truly lifted the arc of progress in Indiana. Let's begin by thanking those who have helped to make this celebration tonight possible. Bringing the energy and creativity on tonight's turntable is DJ French Connection. She's going to be keeping the mixes coming throughout tonight. Let's give a round of applause to DJ French Connection. We are also grateful for the investment made by 39 sponsors this year, each of which are noted on the program on your chairs. This year, we are pleased to recognize Hallett Sports and Entertainment as our presenting sponsor. Jim Hallett, chairman of Hallett Sports and Entertainment, championed this investment. And when we had the chance to meet recently, Jim shared how his humble upbringing in Canada, the leadership principles instilled in him in the young age, both through his education and as a hockey player on the ice, shaped him not only into the leader that he is, but also into the visionary and executive that he is today. As a Hoosier by choice, his impact has been felt across Indiana's business and sports industries by many. Here to speak on his behalf is his dear friend, President of Marian University, Dan Elsner.
Good job. I was expecting a little better music. Not long ago, my friend Jim Hallett calls and said, "Hey, I'm going to be the lead sponsor for Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation." I said, "That's good. That's kind of a strange thing to call me about." He said, "Yeah, and you're going to speak on my behalf." And I said, "Okay, what do you want me to say?" He said, "You'll know what to say." So, good luck, Jim. I know Jim would not want me to wax eloquent about being an immigrant to this country and doing so well. And the fact, at a very early age, a lot of people don't know this, Jim earned a PhD. He was poor, hungry, and determined. It's not the kind our place offers. But he also wouldn't want me to boast about how that PhD in poor, hungry, and determined helped him build a Fortune 600 company right here in Indiana, international company, no less. He wouldn't want me to tell you about his critical role in building our principal and superintendent leadership academy at Marian University, and now we have hundreds of leaders in school, including some of the Purdue Polytechnical schools that we're very proud of. He definitely wouldn't want me to brag about his favorite charity, Maribel Rides, in honor of his mother, helping destitute and lonely and isolated elderly get to their appointments and food and get to church, etc. He certainly wouldn't want me to draw all of attention to Hallett Sports Entertainment, your new facility in Fisher, which is remarkable, and it's quite a vision. So I will say this very briefly. There are many similarities to this man, Hallett, and Mitch Daniels. They have many things in common. They're both very, very trustworthy. They're both relatively healthy, at least as near as I can tell. I mean, they're balanced people, which I appreciate in public life today. They're both very humble. They don't need a lot of attention. They exhibit endless inquisitiveness and innovative approaches to life and serving other people, very constant. They have great leadership skills and communication, stamina, judgment. Interestingly, most interestingly, they both have a poorly developed sense of fear, which I think is a trait of a good leader. Probably most importantly, though, they both delivered commencement addresses at a great Catholic university right in this city and have honorary doctorates signed by no other than myself. And they did a great job, both of them. I would say this in summary. Jim Hallett and Mitch Daniels share leadership traits of a strong faith tradition. There are gospel themes around salt, light, and a city on a hill that you never put a bushel basket over. I just want to say this about Jim and our good friend Mitch Daniels. As you know, salt preserves. Good leaders preserve culture, society, economy, and future for people. Salt also makes things taste better, and they are relentless in making the situation they're in better. It's a very consistent theme in their life. They also have always shone a light forward. Good enough for these two men is never good enough, and they give people a lit way, a lit path to move. And so the final thing I would say is, and I think you worked for Ronald Reagan, he liked that city on a hill theme, if I remember right. I was very young, of course, I barely knew him. But you never put a bushel basket over leadership, and we're here tonight, and I just love the work of the foundation, and I love it, especially when you honor our graduates of Marion and put them in here and get them involved. But the thing that Jim wants to always do, and he's done it with me at Marion a lot, is show people, encourage people, cultivate young people around leadership, because where there is great leadership, there is human flourishing. And they've never hid that should be promoted and sent forward, and we should always cultivate and celebrate that. So I'm very, very, very pleased to be the one to highlight all that Jim has done on his behalf and the behalf of your organizations, CAR, and certainly here. And it's with great gratitude, I'm sure everybody involved, your lead investment, which I understand you called and volunteered. I know how hard it is to get a donation. Usually it's about 6 calls. You called them. That's indicative of your great leadership. So, Jim, I think that's hopefully the introduction you wanted and why you're here. And I would like you to stand so we could all give you a big round of applause, please.
Thank you, Dan, Jim, and Hallett Sports and Entertainment. The funds raised through tonight's sponsorships and ticket sales will directly support our flagship program, the MDLF Fellowship. The program is highly selective, statewide, and 2 years of intense study. As I mentioned, 125 Hoosiers from 23 counties have participated now in 6 classes of the fellowship. We're proud to offer this program at no cost to participants, thanks to your investment. During the curriculum, fellows learn about Indiana's health and education outcomes, key economic drivers, meaningful civic engagement opportunities, and also study principles of individual liberty, personal responsibility, and the importance of private enterprise, uplifting individuals and strengthening our state. Each fellow is also required to prepare, pitch, and pursue their capstone project as they actively work to improve their own communities, the spirit of bias towards action that our namesake continues to uphold. I now ask that you direct your attention to the screens behind me to learn more about our foundation's origins and its purpose.
Late in my governmental service, some people I admired immensely asked for a meeting, mysterious meeting, but I would have seen them for any purpose anytime. So Jim Morris, Harry Gonzo, Earl Good, Randy Shepard, John Krause come around and say that they and others felt that we had set some new standards for leadership in the state. The state had some momentum. They wanted to see what they could do to maintain it. They had taken the liberty of going out and raising some money, and was it okay if they founded a leadership foundation, stuck my name on it? So I was moved and honored by it, and of course I said yes. And from that beginning, with a board that has had some wonderful people and tinkered with the best approach, the foundation has arrived at a point that I think is really one I'm proud to be associated with. Finding, enlisting, hopefully helping train and mentor and introduce to each other people committed to the progress of Indiana, people committed to things that we always felt were central: individual freedom and autonomy, personal responsibility, the supremacy, the primacy of free markets, to lift people and to foster upward mobility, to create, maybe if we're successful over time, a network of change agents across the state who could work in their own communities successfully, to give life to those principles, but maybe here and there to be able to collaborate with each other on projects, policies, maybe future administrations that benefit the whole state. As useful as I thought an organization like this could be back 10, 11 years ago, I probably feel even more strongly about it today. Regrettably, in my opinion, I think there are threats to individual liberty. There are senseless, groundless, almost mindless assaults on freedom of enterprise. So I think that the advantages really to a state like ours of adhering to those principles, continuing to give them expression in our public policies and in our social norms, really can be a competitive advantage, even more so than it was back a decade or more. And so I hope that we can continue to recruit outstanding people like the fellows that have come through so far, excite them and imbue them with those values and with the possibilities that they offer for helping others achieve more in life.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kelsey Cook, and I have the honor of serving as MDLF's membership director. I lead the fellowship program, including recruitment, events, curriculum, and connections to our SMART network. As you heard in the video, the MDLF Fellowship brings together leaders that desire to shape a new and better future in ways that actually change the course of our state's history by envisioning the possible, aiming higher, and challenging contentment within the status quo. At this time, I would like to ask that if you are a current or a past fellow, please stand to be recognized. Thank you for being here. As Lauren mentioned, we encourage you to introduce yourself to our fellows here tonight. They are wearing the participant ribbon on their name badge. Now, we are excited to now recognize two exceptional fellows. Our Class 5 Outstanding Fellow is George Gemelis. George was selected by his peers because of his meaningful participation in the program and intentional engagement in the classroom. He demonstrated community leadership, involvement outside of class days, and development of his capstone, Build Clean Indiana. George is a Central Indiana native and the Chief Operating Officer of the Climate Solutions Action Fund. He is working to tackle the climate challenge by advancing market-based solutions. He is a 2021 graduate of Yale University with a bachelor's degree in ethics, politics, economics, and a master's degree in energy and environmental policy. In his own words, MDLF has opened a whole new world of possibility for me. It has pushed me to be more principled, quicker to act, and much more informed of the challenges affecting our state. I hope to be able to live up to MDLF's ideals, lifting the arc of progress here in Indiana over the course of my career. Congratulations, George. Please join us on stage to accept your award. Our inaugural Driving Change Award winner is Stephanie Bothan, Vice President and co-founder of Ascend Indiana. Stephanie was a Class 2 fellow and was nominated and selected because of her advancements and impact through her capstone, Modern Youth Apprenticeship. Stephanie's work in the talent and workforce sector spans from the City of Indianapolis, Deloitte Consulting, and Teach for America Indianapolis, where she was named Indianapolis Teacher of the Year. She's also been named the Indianapolis Business Journal's 40 Under 40 list, and this year was named one of 60 presidential leadership scholars. She received a finance degree from the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University and a master's degree in education from Marian University. Stephanie lives in Indianapolis with her husband and twins, Caleb and Charlotte. In her own words, the MDLF Fellowship Program provided me with the incredible opportunity to learn from and be inspired by trailblazers who deeply believed in our potential to make Indiana the best place to live and work. These lessons, coupled with the feedback and friendship of talented leaders in my cohort, equipped and empowered me to lead a modern youth apprenticeship effort that currently opens doors to economic opportunity for hundreds of young people and aims to provide these opportunities for thousands of high school students in the coming years. Please help me congratulate Stephanie. Please come forward to accept your award. We will now transition to what promises to be a fun and engaging conversation in lessons in courtside leadership. Our moderator tonight is none other than our foundation's namesake, Mitch Daniels. Recognized as one of 50 world's greatest leaders, Mitch Daniels has worked to better the lives of his fellow Americans through his time as a businessman, author, White House budget director, Indiana governor, and Purdue University president. Most recently, he joined our Partners at Liberty Fund as Distinguished Scholar and Senior Advisor. Mitch and his wife Sherry have raised 4 daughters, Megan, Melissa, Meredith, and Maggie, and now have 7 grandchildren. Please help me welcome Mitch Daniels and our fireside chat guest, Coach Matt Painter, to the stage.
it's not good form to start by correcting somebody as able as Kelsey, but Kelsey, grandchild number 8 arrived 2 months ago. Hunter, and Matt and I have already discussed the terms of his scholarship offer. So. I can't tell you how grateful I am, first of all, to all of you, Jim, you in particular, but each person who's in attendance, how proud I am to be associated with the over 100 fellows now, how hopeful I am about Indiana's future, just knowing them and knowing that they know each other. So, but also tonight, I'm incredibly grateful to Matt Payne who agreed to come spend a few minutes with us. This is not a time of year when he has a lot of time for anything else. We're going to get him on his way as fast as we can. But Matt, thank you very, very much. I think even IU fans know what an incredible, not only successful coach you've been, but what a great character and leader in your own right. So I know everybody here is really appreciative that you took time out to be with us. Thank you. Do I need to recite the resume? But multi-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, national coaches chose him as their national coach of the year just 3 years ago. 400 and where are we, 19 something wins at Purdue University, and a long, long runway ahead of him. So think what he's going to rack up, starting with a national championship this year. But, let's just march through a few quick questions and get you back to practice, Matt, but thanks again for coming. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, last year, people didn't see you coming. You were picked, the team was picked in the bottom half of the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to Mike, our athletic director, saying, well, I think we're going to be, I know next year, but I think we're going to be better than that this year. So you wind up with a #1 seed. Right. This year, everybody's got you in the top 3 in the country. Which way would you rather start, with low expectations or in
no,
high ones?
I'd rather start at the top. Yeah. I'd rather, and it's hard to fight to get in that position, but for us, from a development standpoint, you just don't know. Like a guy like Zach Edey, emerges like that, but you see him every day. And the year before, we actually started him over a guy that was first team all conference, but we were the ones watching him every day in practice. Mm-hmm. So he was just such a hard cover for people to deal with. So we felt very good about that. We had 2 freshman guards that we knew were going to be good. We just didn't know when they were going to be good, right? And so I think anytime you get young, talented guys, it's just when the light kind of clicks for them. But both of those guys were ready to play. We had good pieces. We have good guys, and our staff has done a very good job of evaluating and getting the right pieces that fit at Purdue. So being in this position, we had a great season, but we had a very difficult finish. So really working towards building, and we talked earlier about the process of everything. You still don't miss any steps. You still got to stay with the process of developing and growing your team, but you obviously want to get yourself right back in the same position, but obviously perform better.
Sorry for an ad lib, but a question you just prompted me to tack on to that. You did start, first of all, 2 freshman guards. Right. Almost nobody that I can think of does that. You haven't hesitated to give people an opportunity at an early moment.
Our ability to win some games early. We beat West Virginia, we beat Marquette, we beat Gonzaga, and we beat Duke right in a row. So we went from unranked to ranked 5th in the country. Yeah. Then that just kind of gave our group confidence. But anytime those young guys, Braden Smith is a very dynamic player. He makes other people better. Mm-hmm. Fletcher Lawyer's from a basketball family. Braden's from a basketball family. Really easy to coach, very competitive. So anytime you have those building blocks like that at such a young age, it's great. And with that being said, I think we have the best front line in the country also. So I feel really good about those guys. But more than anything, I'm grateful for the sacrifices that they make. A lot of those guys, our whole front line could start at 95% of the schools across the country, but only 2 of them are going to get to start. And so those guys have really sacrificed for our program, but everybody has to sacrifice. It's no different. Coach Katie used to always talk about being a company man. When you're 19 years old, you don't know what a company man is, and but you quickly realize that. And he just said, if once you start to work and once you get out into the workforce, it's no different than being on a team. If you can do what's best for the team, or you can do what's best for your company, and you keep that in mind and keep that perspective, he goes, now you're always going to put yourself as an individual in a great place because you're doing what's best, for the whole. And that's something that we've always hung on to at Purdue, and that's something that we always talk to our guys about. And the thing that we've really grown with that is not trying to just grab somebody off the street and then trying to give them a speech and think that's going to do it. Really dive into their background, really dive into their substance, and really the substance of the people around them. Because when you sign a player, you just don't get the player. You get the whole crew. And so, but if everybody understands education is important, everybody understands you're going to have to sacrifice as a team, if you have that healthy balance, you're going to be really successful, or at least you're going to max out to the talent that you have.
I got a feeling that you and Coach Katie are going to get quoted in a lot of work, in a lot of offices the next few days. The business, we can call it that you're in, is undergoing incredible change so fast.
Right.
That anybody who's even remotely interested in sports is watching this, trying to make sense of what's happening in D1, transfer portals and paying players and all the rest.
Right.
What's your take on it? Which of these changes is causing the most either difficulty or change in the way you do business?
Yeah, well, I'm on the front line of a lot of that. I'm on a lot of different committees. I'm on the men's basketball oversight committee. That's the closest thing to helping making a decision, even though we don't have a vote about things. But more than anything, like there are positive transfers. I think you look at changing a job or switching careers or switching schools. Like there are positive transfers, but they've allowed the rules to make it easy. We have an environment of change, and what I mean by that is we have people that'll play on 4 AAU teams in 4 years. They'll go to 2 high schools and a prep school in 4 to 5 years, and now they come here and they're allowed to transfer without sitting out. And then you have guys that are playing at 3, 4 different schools. What you have to understand is 99% of men's basketball players across the country don't play professional basketball, but the rules are for everybody. So to me, when you sit around and you make rules and you look at it, I would like to look at the masses, and I like to look at the opportunity. Because when you look at the opportunity of a scholarship, probably outside of like the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, and those opportunities, it's probably saved more lives for young people than anything. And so I look at somebody from a lower socioeconomic background, I look at someone from a single parent home, I look at someone who's a non-professional and saying like, how can we make rules that help them, that helps them grow through adversity, helps them strengthen themselves. So now they got a scholarship to play basketball, and sure, they want to have a good basketball career, but this opportunity should make them have a great life. And so like when I look at those things, and then we had around 200 young men put their name in the portal last year that had a scholarship that didn't end up getting a scholarship. And so when you look at some of the things that are happening around there, the NCAA is just up against it because they spend so much money in the courts, the fear of litigation. It's just a gross amount of money that they're spending, and just the inconsistency with waivers, the transfer portal. So everything is very friendly to the student athlete in terms of their movement and their flexibility. But I know this, like, discipline has saved a lot of people. And being able to fight through adversity grows a lot of people. And those are the type of things that we need to be looking at, and really as a governing body, like what's best for the masses, not what's best for high major schools or what's best for the pros. What's best for, so now, because the money that gets made in March Madness is astronomical. And what a lot of people don't understand is that creates a lot of opportunities for other sports that don't have the same market. And that's a beautiful thing. Because those opportunities for males and females in different sports, now they get those opportunities, and that's what makes you grow. That's what makes institutions grow, because you have that diversity of other people, you have the diversity of other sports, and now that's there. Now the way it's kind of getting aligned, and now people are moving so much, I think when you see the data here in 4 or 5 years, you're going to say, well, we don't have as many people graduating. And the previous NCAA president, it's the number one thing that he did that really stood out to me was our graduation rates for men's basketball players improved under his watch, but African American men's basketball players' graduation rates grew under his watch. And I always, every time I saw him, I talked to him, I said, this is a great thing. This is a great thing that you're doing, but let's build upon this. And now because of some of these circumstances that we're speaking on, it's very difficult. Name, image, and likeness was something that was going to happen. They just never got their hands around it. They just never, and they still don't. And so now trying to ask for help from the government and trying to get people involved, it's just very dicey right now. The things you have to understand is like name, image, and likeness. If you watch a baseball game and they go to commercials, you got 26 guys on each team. There's 52 guys out there playing a Major League Baseball game, and you got 3 or 4 people in a commercial. Not everybody falls under name, image, and likeness, even at a high level where they're professionals. Even though they might have like they get a little bit of money for a card, or they get a little bit of money here for wearing somebody's cleats. That's just not the case. So what we have, we have an example of name, image, and likeness at Purdue with Zach Edey. Obviously, he's a National Player of the Year. He's 7'4". He's Chinese Canadian. He is, the poster child for name, image, and likeness. But not everybody's there. What's going on in our business is guys are just getting paid in the spring to play basketball. That's not name, image, and likeness. And if that's what they want to do, then so be it. That's their choice. But when you're living in the world of education, it's conflicting. But if you look at the money that is being made and they're the ones playing, that's not conflicting. So we got to have a meeting of the minds, and we got to be able to collectively kind of do the right thing for sport, but also do the right thing for education. But we can't forget about those student athletes in the process and the opportunities. And at times that gets a little bit lost.
He's not going to tell you this, so I will. In his 18 seasons, if he doesn't have the top graduation rate in D1 basketball, it's close to that. And it's something that we've always been incredibly proud of. You just talked about growing people. Many people here are in that business, this program in a way is. So talk about it from both ends. First of all, you had, obviously Coach Katie you'll mention, but you had people who helped turn you into the success you've been. So talk about that first, then I'm going to ask you about those you've helped.
Yeah, obviously, playing for Coach Katie, that was very educational. You learn different words than you learn in English at Purdue. But no, he's become like one of my best friends. And so that's, for the guy that you played for, I didn't always understand everything at that age. I've understood more as time has gone on. He wasn't into explaining the why all the time. He's just like, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it. And then, you kind of get into that. But he never lied to me. And that was something, as a leader, he was always very honest. He was always very direct, sometimes too direct. But I needed it. And so my dad and mom, they were diehard. My whole family went to Indiana, diehard Indiana fans. But it was also the discipline of Bobby Knight. And that's what my dad said when Purdue started recruiting me. I was like, man, I don't want to go to Purdue. I hate Purdue. I'm 17 years old, and I don't And my dad said, let me explain something to you. Purdue has great education. This is coming from someone who has 2 degrees from IU. Purdue has great education. His team's always overachieve. He can really coach. And, you need him way more than he needs you. And you're going to go, I'm not telling you where you're going to go, but you're going to go somewhere where they have discipline because you need discipline. And I was a little squirrely when I was 18 years old. So that to me was my first piece of really learning how to recruit. And I tell that story all the time, especially when it's an IU family or, Notre Dame or Butler or whatever. This isn't an emotional decision. This is a business decision. So many young people do what they want to do instead of they do what is best for them. And I was one of those young people. That's just your urge. Let's have fun. Let's just do, what you want to do. When in reality, you should be thinking about what's the best thing for your future. And I'm very fortunate that I had my dad there. I never would have ended up at Purdue, but no, Gene Katie's the best, and him making the Hall of Fame is just, that's, for him to be able to walk with the Kings, he deserves it, and being able to see him up on that podium with Dirk Nowitzki and Tony Parker and Dwayne Wade, and because, he he had it different, man. He was a high school coach. He was a junior college assistant. He was a junior college head coach for 9 years. He was Eddie Sutton's assistant at Arkansas. Then he went to Western Kentucky, and like he really had to fight to be where he is. And I would always say to him, like, why don't you have a second home? Like, why don't you have a lake house? Like, why don't you have another place here? You're at Purdue for 25 years. And he says, I always thought I was getting fired. And I was like, well, you're a Hall of Fame coach. Like, why do you always think you? But that was kind of his mentality. Like, he was a football guy. He was a track runner. And, he played football at Kansas State. He played 4 sports at Garden City. He worked for everything that he got. And so, like, that was his teams, at Purdue. They were hard-nosed. They were workers. But he was just one of those guys that you enjoyed playing for.
I called him after the Hall of Fame announcement came out and said, Gene, you're the real Coach K. He always will be to me. So just a couple more. We've got to get you back to business. There's a lot gets said and written about chemistry on a team. And I'm just curious, because a lot of people may have faced this in their own enterprises. Whether you face it or not, what would you do, or what do you do, if you have a top performer who is not helpful or is even harmful to the chemistry of the entire group?
Yeah. Well, I just think that, your chemistry starts in recruiting by being honest and being straightforward. And if you're going to lose players that way, then so be it. But I just think being a truth teller and really not kind of whispering the sweet nothings to them to get them. And to just be honest. And if you ever look on any team, especially a basketball team, the top 2 or 3 guys, the top 2 or 3 scorers, kind of stand out to you. And you don't really know who that's going to be. Like Zach Edey was the 436th ranked player in the country. He averaged 3 points his senior in high school. Like, how could I sit there and say, in 3 years he's going to be the National Player of the Year? You obviously can't. You can look at someone like Caleb Swanigan and say, like, here in a couple years, he's probably going to be the best player in this league. That's a little bit easier. So for us, it really comes down just to being honest and starting it that way. So when things start to get off the grid a little bit, you just circle back to, what you talked about before, and you just be honest with them, more than anything. Here's where we are. And, you're on earning ground. And we talked earlier where there was, we had a guy that was first team All-League a couple years ago, and we didn't start him the next year. And he got beat out. And so just, trying to be fair with them and trying to be upfront with them is the most important thing. The word culture gets thrown around a lot, I think, in business and on sports teams. And, culture is something that's not talked about. Culture is just something that you work on nonstop. And it starts with your evaluation of people and having the right people in the room. And I think that's so important. I think that's where we've done a really good job. Bill Walsh always talked about a standard of excellence. Everybody in your athletic department, should have a standard of excellence in terms of how to treat people and understand what it means to be at Purdue, but also make your hard work fun. So that's something that we really do, is like do a good job of vetting who works for us, who works with us, who's on our team, but also not taking yourself too serious. I think that's an important piece as a leader, of just acting the same way in the office that you do on the court, acting the same way in front of a player that you would do when a player's not around. And if you can just kind of be yourself. And when you're a coach, you're going to copy a lot of other basketball schemes. Like a lot of people say, man, really like what you do. I'm going to say that's a great thing because I stole it all. But you can't copy people. You got to be yourself. And I think that's really, really important to make sure, because young people are branding themselves through social media and they don't even realize it. They want the world to think of them in a certain way, and don't we all when we're young, right? Most of us look in the mirror and don't like what we see. I know I don't like what I see. You look there, you always want to sound different. That first time you heard yourself on an answering machine, you're like, man, that's terrible. Like, I sound that way. God, that's gross. And I look this way. This is even worse. And so you have that doubt. Like you just do. But young people really do, especially males. They want to send out this aura of bravado when they're very fragile. And so like getting them to understand, like, hey man, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to get yourself out there. It's okay to make a mistake as long as you're trying to do what we're asking you to do. You know, it's not okay to be late or miss class or things of that nature. There's always consequences. But from a basketball sense, there's way more pressure that they feel than they let on. And so trying to get them into that relaxed mode to like saying, hey, like, we picked you. Like, we love you. Like, this is, and then understanding from a coaching, see, you grow up in the 70s and 80s and it's different today, but if you just treat them like they're your own kid, you're gonna be fine. Like, you're gonna be perfectly fine. And like, that's where people get away from things. They start looking at them because it's such a pressure-filled sport. Like, if you don't win enough, they're gonna send you down the river. That's just the way it is, right? And I don't care how many people you graduate. If you don't win, see ya. It's just the way it is. But like, relax and have fun with it. And because when you do that, you organically just become better and you improve, and then they don't feel it. Because it's really not about you. Even though it's an important position, I had a coach tell me when I first got to Purdue, you're the head coach at Purdue, men's basketball. You're a lot bigger than you think you are, and you're a lot smaller than you think you are. And don't ever forget that. And that's something I've always kept in perspective.
Y'all see how this man won more than 400 games? He's only 52 years old. So one last question I can't resist asking. I realize there are probably two answers to this. What's a Matt Painter halftime speech sound like?
Depends on how you play in the first half. Yeah. They always tell me, like, your halftime speeches are better than your pregame speeches. Mm-hmm. I said, well, you guys haven't messed up yet. Like, what do I have to be mad about? So I'm big in doing your job and following what we work on and staying together. Like, you're making a mistake doing what we ask you to do. Like, we're going to be positive. We're going to live with it. Like, you get away from our game plan and what we're trying to do. Now, pressure and really good players can take you out of some things. But no, a lot of it is, you're always concerned. Like, because when you're up 10, if you want to feel relaxed, it's exactly what you are. They're coming to get you. Mm-hmm. So it's like after a loss. Like, when you lose, like, everybody looks at, like, every single possession and like, man, I wish I had this back. I wish I had this back. I wish I had this back. And so, like, it just naturally sharpens your pencil and gets you on edge. And then when you win, you can win by 1 point and their best player can be out and you just feel like you're on top of the world and like you didn't make a mistake in the game. So you're doing good things when you lose and you're having some struggles when you win. So trying to keep that in perspective and make sure they understand that. But you got to see the catch, at halftime. Sometimes, like, score can be tied and there's no adjustment to be made. Miss some shots, miss some free throws, just didn't quite go your way. And so then there's times you're up and you're actually making mistakes and the other team was just really bad. Like, you have moments of that. So it's a little bit different each time. The one thing that you have to have is a pulse on your own team. You can't have something choreographed for a halftime, right? It's just the feel of where your team is. You got to have a pulse on them. You got to have an understanding of kind of how they are and what they're going through, and just try to keep them ready to go in the start of that second. The end of the first half and the start of the second half are real important parts of a game. Very important. You want to finish off that half and get that momentum, and then you want to keep it. If you let that slip right there, you can just feel it. I always compare it to Star Wars and the walls that came in Star Wars, and it just kind of keeps coming. And like, sometimes your timeouts can fix that, and sometimes your timeouts can't.
As we thank Coach Painter and get him on his way back, I'm not going to say anything here I haven't said 1,000 times. I was fortunate enough to work at Purdue University for 10 years, which is twice the lifespan of the average university president right now. And in those 10 years, among so many blessings, I never once had to apologize for the behavior of a single athlete or coach or anybody associated with our program. Never had to clean up any, academic scandal, behavioral scandal, anything like it. And I never took that for granted because I knew so many other, good people in many other places who had one problem after another, and sometimes it cost them their job. And so there's a lot of people to thank for that, but there's nobody I was prouder to serve with and nobody of whose leadership I felt more appreciative than Matt Painter. And now, if you didn't already know it, everybody in this room knows why. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ron Stiver. I've proudly served on the Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation board for the past 3 years and currently serve as board chair. Tonight, we have the honor of honoring our 5th Daniels Prize recipient. It's an award that recognizes Hoosiers whose lives' work have lifted the state to a new plane of thought, aspiration, expectation, and action in the spirit of Mitch Daniels' own transformational leadership. In 2013, a jury of respected Hoosiers were tasked with selecting the inaugural Daniels Prize recipient. That was Tim Solso, retired chairman and CEO of Cummins. Since then, 3 other Daniels Prize honorees have been named. Jim Morris, vice chairman of Pacer Sports and Entertainment in 2015. Scott Dorsey, managing partner at High Alpha in 2018. And in 2022, last year, we honored the late Bill Osterly, executive chairman and co-founder of Make My Move. For those of you who are here, you got to witness firsthand Bill's inspirational message and his courage on display. Tonight, we again get to honor a true champion for Hoosiers, whose enduring leadership has made and continues to make an enormous impact on the quality of life of our state, and in particular, its young people. Someone who's unquestionably emulated many of the leadership qualities of her longtime friend and former boss, none other than past Indiana State Senator and Commissioner of Higher Education, Teresa Levers. As a state senator for 17 years and later as commissioner for Indiana's Commission for Higher Education, Teresa has devoted much of her life's work to ensuring Hoosier students have access to quality education as well as pathways to career success and upward mobility. She currently serves as president of Sagamore Institute, an action-oriented think tank that advances innovative solutions to the world's biggest problems. Other leadership posts include chair of Indiana's Governor's Workforce Cabinet and past chair and member of the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association. Her community roles include past chair and current member of the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis, co-founder of the path-breaking Richard G. Luker Excellence in Public Service Series, which has contributed to the appointment of countless Hoosier women to significant roles in state government and the participation of hundreds more in the political and civic lives of the communities. She's also served as an elder at Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. Teresa's leadership recognitions are numerous and include the Nancy Maloney Outstanding Public Servant Award, the Indiana Commission on Women Torchbearer Award, IBJ's Michael A. Carroll Award, the Indiana Chamber's Government Leader of the Year Award, IBJ's Women of Influence, and a 3-time recipient of the Sagamore the Wabash. She holds an undergraduate degree from Indiana University and a master's in public administration from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. She and her husband Mark have 2 children, Betsy and Maggie, and 6 grandchildren. Teresa's dedicated much of her adult life to public service on behalf of the citizens of Indiana. There is no doubt that her longtime advocacy on behalf of improving the quality of education for Hoosier students has made an enormous difference in the performance of both our K-12 and higher education systems. Indeed, it's almost impossible to think of any major reform or new idea in K-12 or higher education over the past 30 years that Teresa has now played a key role in bringing to fruition. A personal side, as a young knucklehead who heeded the call to aim higher and joined the crew in 2005, I can tell you that Teresa served as a role model for what it means to be a dedicated public servant who leads with the courage of her convictions, something I remain grateful for some 20 years later. So without further ado, please stand with me as we congratulate our 2023 Daniel Prize winner, Teresa Levers.
very little I can add to what Ron just told you. It's important for you to know this. Proof positive that I have nothing to do with the selection of the award winner is that if I did ever put a thumb on the scale, Teresa would have won it a long time ago. For all the reasons Ron gave you, plus the fact that she and Mark have become the closest friends probably that Sherry and I have. And Teresa and I began working for Mayor Richard Lugar, those many years ago. I had the privilege to work with her in multiple capacities after that. I'll tell you that the distinguishing characteristic, the only thing really that I would add to Ron's tribute, is that much like Matt Painter, her character is every bit as impressive and laudatory as her talent. And I always said that any organization or endeavor I was involved in, if we could have Teresa Lubbers as part of it, she set a moral example that was every bit as important as the tangible, intellectual, or other active role she was playing. So Teresa, I had nothing to do with choosing you, but I'm just so happy that the group showed the great judgment of doing so. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mitch, and thank you, Lauren, for your strong leadership as well. This is a very special recognition, as you might imagine, and I'm appreciative. More importantly, I'm appreciative of the great leadership that's been shown by the Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation. It's really driving positive change and improving our state. I've had the privilege over the last few years to meet with many of the fellows, and I can tell you that when I meet with them, I feel much better about our future. Knowing those who came before me, and Ron talked about those, and received this award, makes the honor even more special for me tonight, and also more special because it bears Mitch's name, a person who's inspired me for many years to think outside the box. Our professional and personal lives have overlapped throughout these last 4 decades. We've shared career experiences and family adventures. And like our mutual mentor, Dick Lugar, Mitch leads with vision, integrity, and an unrelenting commitment to making life better for others and to removing the obstacles that stand in the way. I've learned from the best, and there's simply no excuse if I don't pay it forward. The Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation and the Daniels Prize Award are committed to advocating for bold ideas that change the trajectory of people's lives and the places where they live. Unlike Mitch and many others I respect, including my husband Mark, I don't always have the best and biggest new idea. But once I buy into the importance, I don't give up. I'm incredibly grateful that I've had the privilege throughout my career to focus on purpose-driven work alongside positive people who choose hope over negativity and who share a commitment to making life better. And as Mitch has exemplified in word and deed, people who don't settle for the status quo. I recall Bill Osterly's words last year when he received this award, and his encouragement to, quote, live a life of adventure. And we are so grateful for the life he lived and the adventures that he embraced. Today, as I reflect upon my life and opportunities, I value most the calling to live a life of purpose, using one's talents in service to others and the greater good. As one of Mitch's heroes, Winston Churchill, said, "It's not enough to have lived. We should be determined to live for something." Created as unique beings, that something will differ for each of us. But what doesn't differ is the deep satisfaction, I would add joy, that comes from living a life of purpose. I have learned throughout my life to run to purpose, even when it's hard or success is uncertain. To run to purpose, even when the reward isn't associated with financial gain, though often it will be. To run to purpose, even when the path is not always clear or the benefits may be deferred. Because the benefits of living a purpose-driven life are worth it. It keeps us open to new ideas and solutions. It provides direction and minimizes regret, and it allows us to contribute and make a difference. When I left my previous position at the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, I wasn't sure about another career chapter. What I was sure about was that I only wanted to work in an organization that was purpose-driven with people who were determined to live for something. I am thankful to have found that place and those people at Sagamore Institute, an organization that was founded and operates with a vision to improve lives and communities. In closing, I can't think of an organization that embraces the ideas of adventure, purpose, and hope with greater impact than the Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation. And for that and so many other reasons, I am honored and grateful to accept this award. Thank you.
Congratulations, Teresa. Thank you for your remarks, Mitch. Those were really warm. Your vision, knowledge, integrity, and the way that you lead are truly remarkable, and it was so amazing looking out, seeing smiling faces nodding because of the impact that you've had in their lives as well. Tonight, we are inspired by several models of leadership that challenge each of us to make our teams, to make our communities, to make our state, and to make the lives of those around us better than when we found them. As a mission-driven nonprofit, our North Star goal is to ensure that by 2027, we have reached 200 Hoosiers who have participated in our fellowship program representing 50 Hoosier counties. We remain committed to ensuring that there is no barrier to entry for the MDLF Fellowship, and we continue to offer the curriculum at no cost. On average, we're investing about $7,500 per fellow to go through this 2-year intensive curriculum. As we look to this next chapter, this next decade of the foundation, we are preparing to embark on a bold fundraising effort to sustain this commitment. To kickstart this campaign, and to honor our friend Mitch, who has an upcoming milestone birthday. I will not tell you how old he is turning, but we do have this blessing that we are aiming to raise $75,000 to honor this big milestone birthday by the end of this year. Happy early birthday, Mitch. So tonight, we are humbly inviting you to join us on this endeavor and as an investor in supporting our mission. Can we count you in? For those of you that have said yes, I can't make eye contact with all of you, but I'm going to scan the room real quick. Can we count you in? For those of you that want to say yes, please scan this QR code on the screen right now to be the first to bolster our efforts. We will also thank and recognize publicly those who make this investment tonight in our upcoming newsletter next week. And of course, tomorrow, each of you are going to receive an email describing this initiative in more detail with next steps on how you can meaningfully engage. Ultimately, a large circle of donors and volunteers have committed to making our mission possible, including our board members. Would all current and past and founding board members please stand right now to be recognized? We are grateful for each of you. An additional thank you for the generosity of our sponsors this evening, my teammates Kelsey Cook and Brian McGrath, and our volunteers from the Orr Fellowship, the smiling faces that greeted you when you arrived, as well as our production partners, Mary Beth Smith and Associates, Marquise Rennell and Staging, Crane Bay, Rob Banio at Photography, you always do such a wonderful job, and Mike Lee Productions, all of which made tonight possible. Lastly, on behalf of the Mitch Daniels Leadership Foundation, thanks to each of you for joining us and for reaffirming that this crucial attitude and bold leadership style will propel our state forward. The reception will continue until 8 p.m. Safe travels home and enjoy the rest of your evenings. Good night.